Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Folks and Friends, a podcast by Folks Finance. Here, we invite the brightest builders, creators, and thought leaders to talk blockchain, tech, finance, and everything in between. I'm your host, Ibu Karel. Let's learn something together. Assets discussed on Folks and Friends may be held by participants of the podcast. This podcast is purely educational and not intended as advice. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Welcome to Folks and Friends, episode 2. My name is Ibu Karel. I'm here with Benedetto Biondi, the CEO of Folks Finance, and our guest today, Vasco de Mauro, co-founder of Vortex Protocol, and now a growth lead at Sei Network. Welcome, guys, to the pod. Again, Benedetto, welcome back. Vasco, welcome to the pod for the first time. And we'll let you introduce yourself, but Ben, how are you doing today?
Hey, Ibo, how are you doing? All good here. It's great to be back, and I'm very glad we have Vasco today. I had the pleasure to meet him a few months ago in Milan. He's a great Web3 founder, so it will be great to chat with him today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get Vasco's take on things. Vasco, how are you doing today? Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, first of all, Benedetto, nice to meet you again. Ibu, we met already in Milan as well. It's a pleasure being here, and happy to discuss and have a nice chat.
So how are you doing today, Vasco? Where are you tuning in from? How are you feeling? Have you heard about these Algorand hacks going on? What do you think about that?
So I've been traveling quite a bit in the last couple of months. Just got back from the US, so I'm in European time zone. I guess you guys are based in Italy as well. I'm not really aware of stuff happening right now in Algorand. What about these hacks? Like, there's been a lot in DeFi in the last couple of years, so I kind of lost track. Is there some news I'm not aware about?
Benedetto, do you want to tell?
Yeah. Basically, one of the major Algorand wallet, MyAlgo, had a bug, and this attacker started to target the biggest wallet and started to steal funds. And now it looks like that tonight the attack went automated through bots. So everyone with more than 3,000 Algo is seeing his funds withdrawn. So it's pretty sad. A lot of people lost a lot of money. Hopefully we will get it solved, and I don't know, some way to get money back, because really a lot of players in the ecosystem were affected. So it's very sad, but it's Web3, can happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, it can happen, and it's terrible to hear. I think infrastructure hacks and specifically wallet hacks are kind of like the worst, since it is pretty easy to lose confidence from the community with regards to the security of pretty much like everything that is going on the chain. But yeah, I'm sure the Algo team have been deploying like some amazing stuff, and the protocol is solid. I'm sure they're gonna find a solution and be back stronger than before. Sad to hear that, guys.
So just for context, everyone, this podcast is being recorded on March 7th, 2023. Just so if someone is listening on all platforms later on, they'll know that this is the date that, or around these dates that the exploit was happening. But I don't want to date the protocol too much, or not the protocol, the podcast. I think we should keep this kind of more general. So I'm ready to just get into it, ask Vasco some questions, get into some discussion, if you guys are too.
Yes, 100% ready.
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do it. So Vasco, we met in Milan when I was there a few months ago, and now it's been really cool to hear about what you've accomplished since then. And we'll get into those things, relating to SushiSwap and Sei Network. But first, tell us about your background. How'd you get into crypto, into the industry, and when?
Yeah, sure. So I started working in finance as most people in this industry did. I worked at a matching broker and a liquidity provider in the forex and commodities sector. So I kind of like started handling derivatives trading quite a bit in the last couple of years. During my time there and also during my studies, I got involved into crypto. That was end of 2020. So at the end of DeFi summer, started getting involved in different DAOs, communities, testing out protocols, and basically jumped between like most of the ecosystems that were live back then. I guess my journey towards Sei ecosystem and Vortex in the specific started with Terra and my first step in IBC interconnected chains. I got involved in Terra quite a bit, unfortunately, so I know something about exploits and I know something about market crashes. But yeah, I met the Retrograde team there. We had a merge with Retrograde and we started building Vortex in March 2022. So this is pretty much the overview of my journey.
So when was the time that you actually first entered the space?
Full-time job wise, this was February, March 2022. So it's kind of exactly 1 year. Yeah, exactly 1 year.
Wow. It hasn't been too long.
No, it hasn't really built too long. No. I've been involved in crypto for 2 years from 2020 and community and stuff. But yeah, my Web3 job and quitting my 9 to 5 is a pretty recent thing.
So are you a developer yourself, or are you more of like a systems type of person, or what would you say your strengths are when it comes to operating in this space, and especially when you were running Vortex Protocol?
Yeah, sure. So I've specialized mostly on product since I started building Vortex. So obviously having a finance background that helped quite a lot. A lot of stuff hasn't been developed in DeFi yet, and a lot of the dynamics hasn't built up yet. So I think that gave me like the possibility to have a little bit of a vision of what could come next. And in my head, that was definitely derivatives, and that's where I put 100% of my energy and 100% of my focus. So my main job, if you want to put it in the box and define it, obviously, in such an early stage startup, it is very difficult to give a name and give, boundaries to what someone is doing. But I would say mostly growth, business development, and product manager, something like a CPO.
Benedetto, what do you think about, we're part of a startup and it does seem like everyone kind of has to do a few different jobs. Like, what do you think about this dynamic in the startup world?
I think it's normal. It's especially as a founder, you have to do a lot of things in the very beginning. Like I can think about folks when we started until we built the team. And with build the team, I don't mean having a large team. I mean having a reliable executive in each department. I get to be there everywhere, like until we hired the CTO. I was worried about the development, checking that everything was good every day. I don't check it every day anymore. Same with economics, same with marketing. So it's normal in a startup in general, not just in crypto. So the very early stage is pretty tough for a founder. It's like a baby, like when it's very child, you need to when it's newborn, you need to pay attention 24/7. Then the baby's growing and it's more self-sustained.
Yeah, I'm actually curious on my side. Sorry, Iago, if I take
Go ahead.
But we were a pretty small team, so basically like 5 people, a couple of devs and a couple of growth people. I know you guys are fairly bigger, and yeah, Benedetto, like operational wise, what are some tips that you would give to young founders? This is a genuine question on my side as well, on how to manage more than 10, more than 20 people at the same time.
Yeah, I had this question asked a few weeks ago on a webinar for startups. Definitely, it's find the right managers, the right CMO, the right CTO, because this helps a lot reducing your your weight, like it's not everything on your shoulder. You can delegate people that you trust, and that's very helpful. Like I remember, until we found out the right design for Fox team, that was crazy for me. Now I live much simpler lives, honestly, and I don't need to be on Discord to check every day what's happening. That's really helpful. So for me, important is grow the team in a solid way with reliable managers. And also, I think one of the things that I'm good, and I would like to hear Eagle's feedback since he's in the team, is that I am quite good, I think, in addressing the right roles to people. So someone can start doing something, and then I understand it's not good for that, but I might feel that it's good for something else, and we have a lack there. So I think it was kind of easy for me to do that. I didn't fire many people. I was always relocating resources.
Yeah, I'd agree. You are pretty good at that. Like, for example, when I first came onto the team, I was managing the social media along with a bunch of other things that ended up taking up a lot of, brain power and time. Now I'm more focused on, media creation, partnerships. Just, I would agree. You're good at like figuring out where people can fit. I want to ask one quick question to Ben. I know this is a bit of a dovetail from the questions, but we'll get right back to them. But Ben, when you were first starting folks, what were some of the tasks that you had to do that you don't think you would ever have to do as the CEO? Was it like, creating a graphic for a post or writing a newsletter, or, what's something that you remember that you're like, I never thought I was going to be doing this as the CEO?
It's probably the social media. I'm, writing articles, drafting copies. Actually, until we had you able, because you are, English first and American and pretty active on social media, I can tell that this was kind of my hate, really, that I had always to be there checking everything. Now it's, I almost never check it. And indeed, I also want to tell what I enjoy the most. That's probably, I don't know, it's not my proper background, but I really liked it, and I think I did pretty well. Together with Alberto, the head of the economics, we were writing from scratch the entire economic model of Folks, and that was so fun because simply we took the references from other compound, and we were like, okay, this is not clear, we need to understand what's in this formula. And I am an engineer, so math is okay for me, but I'm not an expert of economics, as it might be Vasco. So I had to struggle there and figure out how to do it best. But indeed, it was very satisfying because, for example, reviewing other compound, we have seen and noticed how those protocols were doing something not sufficient, and we could improve it. And that was so satisfying, really. It was great. Now I don't do it anymore. We have 3 persons in the economics team that, for example, they were designing the version 2. So it's something that I miss, actually. It's really nice. I really like. But still, it's not my background, so I don't think I can give much as people that really studied it. And actually, I agree with what Vasco said before, right? DeFi, it's something that is just born, right? It's new. And we will see always more traditional finance experts coming in the ecosystem, building new tools, as Vasco did very quickly, right? Because mostly everything that we have now is coming from developers. It's not coming from traders or banks experts. It's just the developers that are starting to build primitives. Now the primitives are evolving into a more dynamic and differentiated ecosystem.
Speaking of primitives, I want to ask Vasco, when you were going around and figuring out which blockchain you wanted to build on, what stood out to you with Vortex, in the Cosmos ecosystem? Was it the fact that you had been using Terra Luna, and then there was a bit of sticking power there where you kind of just were already there, so you're like, let me continue with it? Or was there something special that really, us coming from the Algorand ecosystem, although we are going, cross-chain in the future, we have a different perspective on which chain we chose. So I'm wondering what stood out to you about Cosmos.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, bias is like very difficult to eliminate 100%. I really tried hard to. So, being kind of, I would say like halfway Cosmos native, that's, natively the first place where you look at. And I tried to not have that kind of bias and look into other chains. That was also the time of the rise of L2s. And, the main problem that derivative protocols have right now, and it's the step that is missing towards, adoption of these protocols and security of these protocols, is speed and reliability and throughput. And, at the time, obviously I had a connection with the Sei ecosystem through Terra days, and they were building the fastest chain out there. And that's something that they have been delivering in testnet as well. And that's something that it's extremely important for a high performance exchange. So this means that you have, very fast liquidation. You have a very reliable process for market makers to provide liquidity. So these are the main points that we looked into. I think another big reason why deploying on Sei was, much easier with respect to other chains was, the optimization that they had at the chain level itself. So they have an on-chain matching engine in which you can very easily plug in if you're building any kind of DEX. And they have, visible SDKs, and developers are very skilled in that end, and they helped us quite a bit. And they also have on-chain oracles, which make it extremely easy to test, to test all of the different assets that could, be built on top of the derivative exchange, which madly needs like different sources of oracles, which are very difficult to find in crypto right now. So I think these are probably like a bundle of decisions. And, it has been proven to be a pretty powerful decision since the ecosystem grew around 100x since we onboarded. And so, yeah, I think we got a little bit lucky on that end as well.
Can you tell us a bit about Vortex? Explain to the audience, what makes it special, and where did the original idea come from? Of course, you're creating a DEX, but as you were formulating that idea, what was the key factor that differentiates it from the rest of the competition?
Yeah, sure. So I think the first thing that popped to my mind when I started experiencing, protocols and DeFi, coming from derivatives and, trading background, was actually the lack of like fully on-chain and fully decentralized derivative solutions. And, when we went through the project, through the problem, and kind of like tried to understand why that was the case, it was mostly because the infrastructure wasn't there yet. So DYDX had a perfectly working product. They had very tight spreads, a lot of volume, a lot of interest in the crypto community, and a lot of traders, but they didn't really have an on-chain matching engine. And that was kind of like a pattern at the time. All of the different derivative products struggled with being fully decentralized. For example, option markets as well. Right now, we're seeing a little bit of more, elaborate solutions, decentralized and automated solutions, but most of the option protocols at the time worked kind of like OTC desks. So taking this problem and taking this gap in the market, that was definitely a huge gap since, at the time, I don't know what the numbers are right now, but 80% of the volume for BTC went through futures. So there was definitely demand for these kind of products. Perpetual are a very nice way to get exposed both long and short to assets. We decided to build a derivative exchange, and we decided to build it on Sei because we could have a fully on-chain matching engine on Sei. So I think that's probably, one of the biggest selling point of Vortex is that it is an order book exchange for perpetual futures, which is completely on-chain. So it has the potential to be completely decentralized, which is actually a first. Another cool thing that we built out, but this was a little bit more down the line, a little earlier, like a little before the FTX collapse, and this played a lot in our favor in terms of, the narrative of decentralization after the whole FTX meltdown, is that we are one of the only perpetual exchanges that have cross-margining features, which basically means that you have your portfolio, which can be involved in all different activities, to be used as collateral for all of the different positions in Vortex as an exchange. So this is a very, very big improvement in user experience for traders, and it's something that FTX did extremely well, and it's one of the reasons why it was so used. And that's definitely another big innovation that our product team managed pretty well. So I guess these are probably the main two that I think are worth noting.
You've mentioned this term matching. I'm sorry, what was it? Matching
engine.
Matching engine. Can you explain to me, like I'm five, what a matching engine is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the matching engine is basically, you can see it as the infrastructure that facilitates, I think matching is a fairly easy word, I can use that, of trades on an exchange. So normally, for example, how that works on AMM, the matching is done on the pool itself. On Sei, the big difference is that we have that matching engine. So we have that kind of orders that can be submitted to the chain itself. So it is very easy to build, from an engineering perspective, the types of trades that you want implemented on an exchange. Like, for example, we could focus a lot more on exotic type of trades and positions without having to focus on how those positions were matched in of itself, which is something very important for especially order book exchanges. So we started working on different type of limit orders, stop loss, trading stops, etc. And we could focus a lot on that because the infrastructure was built already on the chain. That was a lot of help from Sei.
What is the target? What was the target audience or market for Vortex with these capabilities of high throughput? What were you trying to go for? Retail? Were you trying to get institutions on board, trading desks, firms? Who were you really going for when you were still running it? And then we're about to get into the acquisition, which is super exciting. But I want to ask this question real quick first.
Sure. Well, at the beginning, Vortex, again, I don't want to fall too much in the FTX bucket, but it was a trader exchange, an exchange built for traders by traders. So it was mostly retail focused at the time, and also right now this is changing. But Cosmos is a very retail intensive chain, which means that it has a lot of organic growth, a very strong community, and a lot of interest from people all around the world, which is something that fascinated me a lot. And it was kind of the target that we tried to onboard as much as possible. And obviously we were still on testnet, but we had quite a lot of success in terms of usability of the product itself. We had more than 50,000 users coming on Vortex. And this mostly came, after the Terra collapse. There were a lot of traders that were trying to find a new home in the Cosmos. So I think, our growth and marketing team did a good job in attracting that kind of interest. Obviously, the merger with Retrograde helped quite a bit in that direction as well. And, after the FTX collapse, and again, this was not too far away from Sushi acquisition, we started focusing on institutional interest as well, in terms of, mostly DeFi native institutions. So, for example, market makers and, VC funds or small hedge funds in the space, which used to have, a lot of safe trading venues on centralized exchanges, and we're looking for an alternative way to get different kind of exotic exposure to assets. So that was definitely an interesting focus for us as well. And I see these kind of exchanges being a safe venue for these players as well in the future.
Ben, when you're having that conversation with an institution of any scale, where in the process of trying to onboard them to DeFi do they get stuck? Where do they stop? Is it managing wallets? Is it the systems? Is it the legality? What's usually the snag or the thorn that stops them in their tracks?
I'll touch this in a bit, but I also want to say that what Vasco said, it's very, very true. If you think about the reason why market makers don't market make on DeFi, it's mostly because of what he said. They don't have a way to do it because DeFi trading right now, it's pretty inefficient. Okay, it has many advantages for retails, but if you think about trading firms like even market makers, they require more. So that's one of the big limits that we see on the adoption of DeFi compared to centralized exchange, and that's why still the big trading firms uses centralized exchange. So it's very interesting about what Vortex is gonna do. I am very curious. And on the other side, like then we can discuss what are for institution, it might be this, but like trading institution we are talking about here, or indeed for retails, we can think of the mass adoption. I always say that for me, first of all, we need to reduce the friction, and the friction is on the UI, of course, but also on the wallet side. So until we will need until the only safe way to keep our funds will be through a cold wallet, and that's not very simple. And then if you lose the phrase, you are done. That's still very limiting. I don't think that my father is gonna do that in the near future, not even if the advantages are huge. Maybe the new generation will, I don't know, but definitely there might be new upcoming technologies that solves that, and I see around this is happening. So that's infrastructure that are gonna help the mass adoption more. And one more thing in DeFi right now is just trading of crypto. Let's be honest, it's just trading or running behind incentives. I'm staking the USDC here now because the APR is higher, then I move it to another protocol. That's not really gonna bring the mass adoption, let's be honest. What is gonna bring the mass adoption is more onboarding into the DeFi space real world tokenized asset, in my opinion, because this will always give reasons to people to actually do that it's not just the yield or the incentives. It's more actually than having something useful in real life, not just making money. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, sorry, Aldo, if I cut off.
Go ahead.
Totally agree with Benedict on the first point. That we are lacking a lot on the UX UI side of things. And that's, kind of why I wanted to touch base on the cross-margining feature Vortex has. But there's also a ton of team, we're going to probably talk about this later, but I'm working on ecosystem growth on the Sei side of things. And I've seen passing by a lot of infrastructure teams. There's a lot of, very talented people that are working on very cool solutions, such as, on-ramp, off-ramps, account abstraction, different kind of wallets that are connected to, social medias, mobile apps. And I've seen a lot of innovation, go through different conversations that I had with these founders. And I think, the only thing that is holding these teams back right now is probably some kind of sustainable revenue generation. But once that is solved, I see, the next big leg of the bull run being facilitated by all of these infra teams. And there's quite a lot, I would say. Something like it's 70% of all teams, I think, are working on this stuff.
Well, we're going to get into the Sei, your new position at Sei, but we have to touch upon the acquisition of Vortex by SushiSwap. So please, this is super interesting. Tell us about how this started. And I guess we'll start there and kind of, maybe I'll pick your brain a bit about the whole process, why you chose SushiSwap, and a few more questions.
Yeah, so I think we probably found ourselves in the midst of the perfect storm. We got in contact with the Sushi team at the end of October of last year, so October 2022. We got in contact with Alex Sheffrin, which was the head of BD. It's still the head of BD, and we started talking with Jared quite a lot at that time. Sei was a growing ecosystem at the time. Vortex was growing in numbers a lot, and the whole FTX collapse kind of pushed a lot the narrative of bringing derivatives on chain, bringing traders on chain. So there has been quite a rush from all of the major DeFi teams towards this kind of model. So in the specific, sushi, Jared just hopped in as the head chef a couple of months earlier, and he's basically renovating the whole of sushi model from the ground up, which has been amazing to watch. And one of his major programs is to actually expand the scope of Sushi Swap from the basic IMM program towards a more DEX related approach. And this was only logical for them as a first step, and we just found ourselves in the way of this huge player that wanted to do this kind of pivot. And I think that the reason why they chose Vortex is definitely because of its technical capabilities and of the fact that it could be fully decentralized, which is something that is being valued more and more in the last bear market, especially, and also especially after FTX collapse. So again, find ourselves in the middle of the perfect storm. We had a couple of chats back then. We picked up chats again around December and started, signing the last documents last month. And that's when the announcement came out. And funny thing, Jared was actually pretty excited about announcing Vortex as soon as possible, but we kind of planned to have a coordinated announcement. I think this was around a month and a half ago. But he accidentally leaked the acquisition at a conference in Miami. So I found like my phone ringing at 3 a.m. in the morning because I was in Rome at the time, with like a bunch of chats and comments from everybody. So that was quite fun. But yeah, I guess this is kind of like a little bit of context on how that went through. It has been a very amazing experience. The sushi team has been very helpful, very accommodative, very, very exciting to work with them. Also, I'm kind of like a son of DeFi Summer. So Sushi has always been like one of the major OG DeFi teams in Ethereum. So it has been amazing to have the possibility to work with them.
So what made you think I'd rather sell here than keep building and try to make this a 10x or a 100x company from here?
Yeah, so there's a lot of a lot of the details of the acquisitions are already disclosed, but I am still involved. I haven't really announced anything yet, but since we are with friends, I'm gonna hop on as a strategic advisor with them as well. So I'm gonna be part of this growth too. And I guess I see this, obviously it is an acquisition, but I see this more as a scaling opportunity. They have all of the resources and the team and the brand to really compete at the high level and the high players level, which is something that was the vision for Vortex all along. So I wouldn't say that I hopped off the train because I'm still full on the train. I'm gonna announce a lot of stuff regarding this soon as well.
Will they be rebranding Vortex to like Sushi Swap Cosmos or something like that? Like, what's their plan for that, or will they keep it the same and just kind of run it in the background?
Yeah, there has been, obviously there's a lot of talks. 90% of those talks are legal, more than like marketing and growth wise. The main name that it's going around the corridors right now is Sushi Perps. But they were thinking about something also, similar to another aspect of sushi in Japan. I don't know. I proposed wasabi. No one liked wasabi. I don't know. We're still in the process of deciding, of deciding what the new name will look like. But that's going to be up to the sushi team, obviously.
That's kind of hilarious. You proposed wasabi, and like I know that feeling when you come up with something you think is so clever and brilliant, and then you're like, hey guys, like wasabi, and then everyone's like, hell no, dude, like what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to warm up a little bit on my pseudo new role as an advisor, but yeah, I'm not a creative advisor at all, so that didn't really work out for me. But yeah, anyways, the announcement with the name is probably gonna go out soon, and so I'm sure it's gonna be sick. They're pretty good.
So what will you be doing with Vortex now in your role as like a advisor, like OG in that company?
Yeah, so again, like just full transparency, I'm gonna work with Sei full time as a growth lead. So that's gonna be my main role. And again, like happy to discuss in that direction as well. Regarding sushi in the specific, I'm going to be like their point of contact in the Cosmos. They're obviously an EVM-based protocol. So I think I find myself in a position in which I could really help them strive in this ecosystem. And that's mainly where I'm sitting right now.
Let's talk about the Sei role that you've taken up, which is a growth lead there. It's super exciting. Congratulations on that. What does growth in this industry mean to you? Is it higher volumes? Is it more users? I actually let me not even give you options. I kind of want to just leave it to you as you take this role up. What are you thinking about? And when they offered it to you and you said yes, what was the thing on your mind that was like, this is the category or the vertical that I want to impact, and I think I could impact with this role?
That's actually a great question. So I guess in terms of North Star metrics, there's definitely a bunch that can be taken into consideration. But at the end of the day, like what we're building are like all of the products that we're building are very much affected by network effects. So the success of the product, especially in the early stage, is mostly determined by the amount of users that you have on board and the amount of community excitement and all that kind of stuff. So no matter what the tech, how amazing the tech you have is, what's important at the end of the day, it's early stage adoption. So I think that's definitely one KPI that we're looking for going towards mainnet with Sei. But the way we see Sei as a blockchain on the growth side of things, or at least how I've been learning to see it since I came on board, which I think is also a statement and kind of like the reason why they've been so successful to grow their ecosystem so fast in testnet, is basically they see themselves as a B2B business. So the customers are the builders, and the chain is obviously permissionless. And they're trying to create the best ecosystem for builders to build on top. And this is definitely, a new role that fits me quite a bit because I was actually a builder on the other side, which was looking for, the best place where to build. So I'm definitely like the perfect person to deliver that pitch. And I think, that kind of approach from a business development perspective has been pretty powerful, and I think has been, it's starting to be copied also around other blockchain as well, which I think it only makes sense, and it's kind of like a statement to how the team has worked thus far. So I guess probably the steps are best infrastructure for building, B2B business. So towards the customers are the builders. The more builders, the more community. The more community, the more excitement. The more excitement, the more builders, and that's kind of like the growth flywheel that you want to see happening in an SN ecosystem.
Bennett, has any thoughts on that? I do agree with that. Flywheel is very interesting, and very true way of putting it, where, if you spin those three things up, they'll kind of feed into each other.
I agree as well. It's true.
So what do you think Sei needs the most right now out of any of those things? So you said an ecosystem for builders. What would you like to create for builders? Is it more accessibility to the code? Is it, DeFi primitives like smart contract, out of the box, something like that? What do you think is something that could be useful right now and make an impact?
Yeah, I think I can probably talk mostly from a growth perspective, since that's kind of like my area of expertise.
Go ahead,
the next Folks and Friend, we're going to have an engineering as well answer those questions. But I guess, I think
in person Folks and Friends in Milan.
Exactly. That would be amazing. Looking forward, man.
It'll happen.
I guess from a growth perspective, something that that helps builders quite a bit is support with the go-to-market and early stage development of their product. As Benedetto mentioned earlier, most of the founders that we have in the space right now, being an early stage industry, is very technical founders. And what we're trying to do on Sei is giving them on Sei growth side is giving them as much support as possible in terms of go-to-market strategies again. So on one hand, for example, something that has been proven to be pretty powerful is to leverage the composability nature of DeFi, and so putting in contact all of the different protocols that are that want to build, for example, an exchange, with the wallet providers in our ecosystem, or if they're building, for example, an option protocols, we can put them in contact with the people that are building vaults for options in our ecosystem. So kind of like leveraging the interconnections that are possible in DeFi to make sure that they build long-term incentives between the protocols and connection between the communities is something that normally helps protocols bootstrap their community quite fast, which has been the case for all the native team building on Sei right now. So that's kind of like a big one, I guess.
Okay, yeah, definitely hear that. So what do you think the target audience for Sei is?
Well, that's a very general, I guess.
Yes, it is general. It is general. It's general. It's general says because you will know better than me. So I'm not even going to lead you toward an answer, and anything you answer will be correct.
Oh, great. Fine. Okay, so no pressure on me. I guess general is actually a great word because we are a Cosmos chain, but we don't position ourselves as an app-specific chain. So we're going towards more of a general purpose model. So we have a lot of social coordination between the teams, and that's kind of like the conversation that the answer that this ties a little bit on the answer that I gave you earlier regarding how to help teams with the go-to-market. So again, we are general purpose. So the chain is permissionless. Everything can be built on top. We're optimized for exchanges, but exchanges is basically the product that we have found product market fit in DeFi and in crypto. And this means that they can be exchanges for NFTs. They can be in-game exchanges. They can be derivative exchanges. Exchanges it's a very broad word. So this can go from, again, NFT traders, traders in general, and also with all of the different infrastructure players and infrastructure teams that are building on top right now on Sei, which is a couple of tens of teams already building infrastructure. We're probably going to have the tools to approach in a more user-friendly way non-Web3 users as well. We have a team, for example, that is called Code at a State. They are doing something extremely cool. They're working to bring the real estate market and real estate property market on chain, and they have a UI which is it is actually live on Tesla as well, and it's extremely intuitive. And they're trying to mimic a lot the UI that Web2 platforms have, such as Airbnb, for example. And we're making connections with account abstraction protocols on and off ramps and wallets to make sure that the experience is basically seamless. So yeah, so again, everyone and my mother could probably use that protocol. So that's our target market.
That's the dream. When everyone's mom is on DeFi, that's how you know we've made it.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's pivot into some general questions and get Benedetto back in here. I wonder if he's fallen asleep by now.
No, I'm still awake. It's very interesting.
So do you guys think that any layer one will be able to overtake Ethereum? Maybe not ever, because I feel like if you say ever, then it's almost guaranteed that, because I don't believe that anything can remain in power forever. But let's say in the next decade, like up until 2030, do you guys believe that any other blockchain layer one can take the top spot from Ethereum if you exclude Bitcoin? Ben, I'm going to start with you.
I happened to talk with a VC that was very against Ethereum, and this gentleman was a very expert engineer, so he opened for me some very nice point of view that before I had not. Before I was thinking that Ethereum has so many building blocks that it's impossible to be overtaken, right? But the thing is that the blockchain in general is very new technology, right? And Ethereum right now, compared to others, is old technology, right? And the technology development goes so fast that a new blockchain could come tomorrow and then so much better feature that, or even so much easier to build ecosystem that could build everything that has been done on Ethereum in a much faster way, shorter time, and having still better feature. So this could potentially kill it. So that's my take here. Maybe not kill, definitely, but there might be a competitor at the same level. Who knows?
I hear what you're saying, but I could also say that a lot of blockchains have said we've come around and we are like Ethereum but this, or we're like Ethereum but that. Sometimes they're a layer 2 of Ethereum, sometimes they're something like Algorand, which you can say has higher technical capabilities than Ethereum in many ways, although it doesn't have the same building blocks like you said as Ethereum, which seem to attract more developers. And as we can see, a lot of those chains, even the ones that have gotten really big, like Luna or Solana, or even Tron at certain points, like they still have difficulty overtaking Ethereum. And Vasco, I'm going to pass this to you. Why do you think that is? Going back to the question, do you think that any other layer 1 can overtake Ethereum before 2030?
Yeah. So first of all, I totally agree with Benedetto on the first point. So regarding the problem with network effects is that it is extremely difficult to overthrow a big player such as Ethereum right now. But at the same time, the landscape, again, I agree. Again, it's a very early stage industry. There's a lot of innovation being made every day, and nobody knows. Apologize. Nobody knows what's coming next. And I guess if I were to make a guess of what layer 1 and what blockchain would potentially overthrow the giant that Ethereum is right now, and again, I may be a little bit biased, is definitely a sector specific blockchain. Like, for example, let's make an example. You actually mentioned Tron. Tron has the highest inflow and outflow and exchange of stable coins right now, and mostly because it is used by huge institutions and huge also Web2 players in Asia and in that part of the world to transact with stablecoins, which has been proven to be one of the biggest use cases for crypto right now, which is stablecoins. I think crypto has a ton of other use cases that haven't been unlocked yet, and I probably envision a world in which a new chain comes in and manages to take like a very high percentage in terms of market share for that specific use case. For example, like stablecoins, as Terra did, by the way. And just that market happens to be bigger than the DeFi market that there is right now. Like I can definitely envision something like that. So, yeah, highly possible, maybe also probable.
I think that's an interesting thought. You could see a real estate chain, some chain that's just completely focused on having the highest security and, the most transparency of NFTs and representing real estate assets. You could see, of course, the trading chain. You could see, all different types of things. The betting chain, people doing gambling. I think that was like a huge selling point for Solana. I think it's interesting to think that different blockchains can be split into, different verticals. I know Cosmos has the ability to kind of spin up your own little blockchain or big blockchain whenever you want pretty easily. Do you think that, that could be something that Cosmos' ecosystem can benefit from if the industry starts to go in that direction?
Yeah, that's definitely something that has been proven to be, the Internet of blockchain kind of narrative is something that right now is mainstream. Like it started in the Cosmos, but you see subnets in Avalanche, you see parachains on Polkadot, you see layer 2s on Ethereum. So it's right now very easy to spin up these new kind of blockchains all over the different ecosystems. I guess Cosmos, it's, Tendermint is, I'm not an engineer myself, but it is a very, flexible base on which to build new chains. So, obviously Sei, which is a very sector specific chain and it's optimized specifically for exchanges, used Tendermint as a stack to do so. So it's definitely a good piece of infrastructure where to start. And I guess another thing that it's interesting that it's good to note is that probably one of the reasons why network effects are such a big deal when spinning off new chains is mostly from a security perspective, because you need, to spin up like hundreds of validators geographically, spread all over the world. which is something very difficult to do for new chains. And the Cosmos is trying to solve that through interchain security. Ethereum solved that through sharing its security with layer 2 networks. So in the moment in which it's going to be easy to borrow the security, for example, there's actually a protocol on Cosmos that is managing to borrow the security of Bitcoin, being an app-specific chain on Cosmos and doing all the different stuff that an app-specific chain can do. So in the moment in which we're going to overthrow this hurdle, overthrow this blocker that new chain have, we're definitely going to see like a Cambrian explosion of new sector-specific blockchains doing like the most disparate things.
Ben, did you expect Algorand to be at that point with the side chain, co-chain capabilities we have at this point, or are you surprised that it hasn't reached that capability yet?
The thing, Ibo, is that as you were saying before, we see many technologies like Algorand coming, and they are better than Ethereum for certain features, and then you don't have all the network effect that doesn't let you grow. But still, here it's business, Ibu. It's also a matter of how you do business. It's not having a great product guarantees you to be the best in the market, because there are many other things in a company, which is business development, marketing, everything. It's still a company. It's not just a technology. So I think that, and also look, you can think also the upcoming new chain, the one that will come later, or the one that are developing now. They might be much the level of difference between Ethereum and those in terms of technology might be much larger than, for example, Algorand and Ethereum, because it's still new technologies, even better than Algorand for certain reason. And this could make it easier, the challenge, obviously. And if you make this with a good business development and marketing, that's it. You have the right recipe to go on.
Let's do a few community questions real quick. To Folks Finance, this is from Roa Moilanen.algo. To Folks Finance, are you planning to add new tokens like GoUSD, etc.? Can you briefly tell us your near-term plans and roadmap?
Yes. So we are planning to add a new token. The next one down the list is GARS, and then also the other stablecoin in the ecosystem like GoUSD. It requires a bit of work to do that, and also, when we deploy a new pool, is also updating Folks Feed Oracle to support it. So in order to support such stablecoin, Folks Feed has been upgraded in order to take also time-weighted average price from the different dexes on Algorand, since those stablecoin doesn't have a price on centralized sources like Coinbase or CoinMarketCap. So it requires us a bit of work. But yes, we have done the work in the Oracle, and now we are ready to list more assets.
Should have some announcements coming about those soon. This one is for Vasco real quick, from Algo Richard. Hey Vasco, how do you think the multi-chain world will look in a few years, and how do you prepare your company to be agile for it? I think, let's say the company he's talking about is Sei and not Vortex.
Great, yeah. I think it's probably very well put from Sergey Nazarov. He's the founder of Chainlink. They have been building this amazing new primitive that is called CCIP, which is basically an interoperability primitive for protocols to build on different blockchains and have different layers of security and utilization lying on different blockchains. So I guess a world that I see unfolding is a world in which any kind of applications are going to source different kind of use cases and different kind of features from different chains. And from Sei perspective, Sei it's pretty well positioned on that end because it's going to be the go-to place for exchanges. So a lot of apps, like whichever apps are going to need an exchange in the backend or for some kind of feature in a world in which Web3 achieved mass adoption, there's probably going to be need for an exchange in the backend, and that's probably going to be Sei. That's my guess.
Very well put. Very well put. Coming up on the end of the episode, I invite anyone in the audience to come up in the next minute or two if you'd like to. See some of the regulars there. But do you guys have anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up the episode? I'll start with Ben, and then we'll finish up with Vasco.
No, Ibo, it has been great as always. It's a pleasure having Vasco here. I really look forward to having one in real life in Milan. That will be fantastic. And potentially we finish it with a beer after.
Yes, would love to do that.
Yeah, okay, on my end as well, thank you for having me. This has been crazy fun, and looking forward to meeting you again and to being hosted again in your amazing office in Milan. And yeah, I guess like just a call out to whomever is listening or will listen. If you're interested to build, just DM. Happy to help out for whatever kind of crazy project you guys have in mind. And yeah, again, thank you, Ivo. Thank you, Benedetto. You've been amazing hosts. Hope to be present at the Folks and Friends IRL as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Can't wait to see you in person again. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Remember, if you're in the audience and you missed part of the episode, you can go in a few days. You can listen to the recording of this on Twitter, or in a few days it'll be uploaded to all platforms: Spotify, Apple, and Amazon, and YouTube. So you can go check those out if you would like to play it 20 times if you want to. That's completely up to you. So thank you everyone for coming to this episode of Folks and Friends. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Vasco. And we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.